kind of stuff. We're only 7 minutes late this time, as opposed to 30 last week.
Oh, and it was my fault.
So we're going to just jump straight in. Yeah, kind of like that.
Sorry.
Right, so as I mentioned, we're going to be discussing Charis's journey through Slimming World, like through her teenage years, and then my kind of perspectives and experience as a PT up until a couple of years ago. So I think the best way to start this is to ask you, why did you decide to go to Slimming World at such a young age?
Do you think? Sorry, I don't want to, second guess your approach, but should we actually say what Slimming World is for? Like, because I know you've got some international people that.
Well, yeah. If we start with why you went, and then we can discuss what Slimming World actually is.
Okay, so I can't remember what age I was. I was like 15 or 16 when I went to Slimming World. My mum's going to Slimming World anyways, and I always thought, especially around that age, I thought, oh my gosh, like I didn't want to say big. I didn't think I was. Maybe I did think I was big. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to deceive myself. I don't know. But the matter of the fact is I wasn't big. Like, I might have been maybe a little bit overweight in the doctor's eyes for 15 or 16 years old, but I was like 9 stone 2 or something like that, 9 stone 3, something like that.
Which realistically is tiny.
Yes.
9 stone is nothing, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I think my mum was going anyway, so I thought, oh, fantastic, then I'll go, because then I can go with my mum. It's not something I have to go out alone. And yeah, and then I'll lose weight and I'll feel amazing and I'll be amazing. And I think a lot of it was growing up in similar age brackets to my sisters and them being quite slim and everything and whatever. It was kind of that feeling of the sort of being the underdog, really, I think. Always being compared to my sisters, I think, was probably one of the most like driving forces for me to go to Slimming World. Which
how did it actually look like when when you were going through it? What did they teach you? What were they kind of giving you? And like, because I don't really know much about Slimming World. I know what from the outside it looks like they do, but obviously I've never been inside.
Yeah. So. Do you know what? I don't want to completely bash Slimming World because I do think it works for people. Well, ultimately it works, but the foundations and everything that it's built upon and the way that it's delivered, now being out of it and being older and being more mature, it just, there's just so many things that are just like, we'll get to them in a minute, but like there's so many things that are just ridiculous. They just sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
But obviously it does work for people, so I don't want to completely bash it. And did I lose weight on Slimming World? At 15, 16, yes, I did.
Yeah.
It works, but not through the right means. I don't think. It's like, do you know what? I feel like Slimming World is like the better version of like weight loss pills. And what are they like? fat reducing injections or fat loss injections. You know what I mean? Fat dissolving injections.
Carb blockers.
Yeah, it's like the one step up. It's like more socially acceptable than the keto diet and Slim Fast. But it has cracks. Ultimately it has major cracks. But yeah, going through it, to be honest, because I was a child. So what happened was you went every week and you hopped on the scales and they were like, take your shoes off, don't come and wear heavy clothes like jeans, and everyone will be turning up in their linen trousers or a skirt and
the lightest clothes possible.
taking like a lot of people taking your watches, your jewelry and everything off because they're heavy. And it's funny because I do that now. My 2 rings that weigh barely all. I take them off now if I get on the scales because it's just.
We can go into like the relationships with certain things that's kind of conditioned you.
So yeah, you go in, you weigh, and they're like, oh, you've lost, or you put on. And they always, when you lost weight at the scales, they would tell you at the scales, and then they would do like the announcement in front of the whole group. They would be quite loud and vocal when you lost, say, "Oh wow, you've lost 3 pounds." If you put stuff on, they'd then go, and put weight on, they'd then go, "Put on 2 pounds," and they'd whisper it in comparison to the, "Oh, fantastic, you've lost 3 pounds this week."
What better way to induce shame?
So I mean, but because I was a child, it was slightly different for me. Like, so when then they did, so what would happen is the consultant would then go around the group and speak about everyone's losses and everyone's gains, and they would speak to that individual and they'd say, "Oh, Mary, you've not such a great week, put on 2 pounds this week, where do you think it went wrong?" And the most hilarious thing is because that's then pressurizing, it's embarrassing for one.
Yeah.
That individual then goes on to lie and says, "Well, I don't know, I only had 1 slice of cake this week," and the whole group's thinking, "You lying cow, you didn't just have 1 bit of cake this week, because that wouldn't have happened." And yeah, it just, but because I was a child, from my perspective, they never actually said anything to me. I never had to speak. I was never.
How many other children were there with you?
Oh, no one.
Oh,
just me for a little while, and then there wasn't
Did you feel like you shouldn't be there because there was no other kids there, or did it just feel normal? Or did you feel proud that you were there?
Yeah, I don't know actually. I felt like, I don't know how I felt, but it wasn't that I didn't feel like I should be there, but I know there was a lot of other members, obviously adults, whatever size, that would say, "Well, what are you doing here for? Like, you don't need to be here." Well, shut up, because I do, and I am. So don't talk to me, leave me alone.
I think that's funny how people can look at someone and say exactly what they need.
Yeah.
You don't. Well, how do you know how I feel about myself?
Yeah.
Like,
and then after a bit of time, there was like a couple of younger people, and one of my friends, she started coming with me, and so yeah, sorry, Lauren. But yeah, so it just feels like a wild time, and I think what I want to speak about is actually, you can't just walk through the door into Swimming World as a child, as someone under the age of 18 or 16, I can't remember what it is, but you can't just walk through the door. Like, you have to go to the doctors, and the doctor has to basically sign you off to go.
how?
It's even funnier, and it's not funny because it's actually
it's sad, and it's actually, I would go as far as say dangerous. Like, on what grounds did they sign you off to go to Slimming World?
Well, they obviously, like, when I went to the doctors, I think, I'm pretty so long ago now, but I'm pretty sure they weighed me, and she said to me, like, because you're going like with your mum, she was reluctant, but she was like, "I'm sorry at all." But she goes, "But I don't want you to lose." I can't remember what the specific pounds was, but she said, "I don't want you to lose like 3 to 5 pounds, something like that." And I was like, yeah. In my head, I thought, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. Do I want?
So already, like a professional, like a doctor, had already made you believe that it's okay to go to Slimming World at that age.
I mean, there was like some resistance, and I do just want to say as well, when I did go to Slimming World, the consultant lady said to me, she said, "If you start to lose too much weight, however that looks, then basically I wouldn't be able to go anymore. I wouldn't be able to be a member." And
so, what weight were you when you first started?
I think I was like 9. I want to say, I can't specifically remember now. I'd have to dig out my old books. But I think I was about, I want to say between 9 stone 3 or 9 stone 6, something like that. Because I know the lowest I got to was 8 stone 2.
Okay, perfect. So the reason why I asked is because if you lose too much weight, then you won't be able to come anymore. So someone who was already didn't weigh a lot, a young girl that was 9 stone 3 or whatever, to lose over a stone to get down to 8 stone odd, isn't that already losing too much weight? How did the consultant, or whatever they're called, justify over a stone in weight loss as being okay, and you can continue to come. If and I may be being cynical here, but if it wasn't anything to do with money.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the fact that I also was going, with my parent, that probably played some sort of diffusion of responsibility, really, in the respect of, she's going with her mum, so her mum's got her mum's involved, so her mum's dealing with it, and we'll just sit back and hope this doesn't blow up in our face. Well,
we'll just sit back. Thank you. Yeah,
that's all I can assume. But I do think it's absolutely wild that a doctor would sign that off anyway.
That's terrible.
Do you know what? I just sound really bizarre, even now, especially now as an adult, and knowing how much I weigh now, is you would get fully grown women, and this is fine, whatever people's goals are, but fully grown women going in and saying, "Oh, I want to be 9.5 stone, I want to be 10 stone." That's nothing. And
what weight were they when they were saying that?
Oh, I don't really know, to be honest. Probably it varied. It really varied. It was either heavier to about 13 stone. Do you know what I mean? I don't really want to put numbers on it because, but back then, as a child, that then actually grown women saying that then made me believe even more. Well, they're fully grown women, so I should be about 8 stone, whatever. Because if they want to be that as a fully grown woman, I should be probably a stone less because I am not a fully grown woman. And looking back on it now and knowing how much I weigh now, I find that so bizarre. And I feel like I probably laugh a lot actually when I talk about Cineworld because it just seems crazy. It seems crazy.
To be honest, hearing your experience and obviously knowing you and being with you for these years, from the outside looking in, I see it as traumatic.
Yeah, and that goes on to some other stuff. What I do want to say actually as well, I feel like we're going to get a lawsuit from Cineworld.
It's all right.
The lady that used to do the weigh-in, she used to say to me a lot, she used to say, your BMI is quite low. She didn't explain to me what a BMI is. She probably didn't know what a BMI was. No. I still don't really know what a BMI is.
They go and do these weekend workshops and then they can advise people.
Yeah. Weight loss. I know what BMI stands for, but I don't actually really know what it is. I don't really care. I really don't care. But yeah, she says that to me a lot, and I just think, so? Don't know what that means. And all I'm doing is looking at the scales, what pops up on the scales. And just coming back to the word you use of traumatic, I remember there was this one session or week or whatever, and I worked really hard that week, however that looks. I worked really hard, following all the guidelines, skipping out the sins, skipping out the hex A's and bread and milk and all that shit.
Sins.
Yeah. And I lost half a pound. And I thought, I felt so deflated. I felt so mugged off. I literally was so disappointed that I went to my mum and I sat next to my mum and I just cried. And I was like, what the hell? I've worked so hard. And then we went around the group thing. And obviously I never had to speak. But she was like, I saw that you were a bit upset, blah, blah, blah. But it's still a loss. I should have been upset in the first place. Do you know what I mean? I should have been upset in the first place.
Shouldn't have fucking been there in the first place.
Yeah, it was a really wild time. Now I look back and just think, what the hell? What the hell? So there was some really actually traumatic experiences. And I remember going to one of the sessions one week with my friend, and obviously I used to go in the week, but I went on a weekend day. I went on a Saturday. And out of nowhere, I suddenly was announced with this award, this Young Slimmer of the Year award. And I was like, oh my God, wow. But I was the only young slimmer there, so of course it had to be me because I was the only one there. So why was that even an award?
Oh dear.
But I felt chuffed at the time. I had my picture taken with it. I had to go and show my mum. I've still got it. I think we before we moved, I found it in my room.
Yeah, I remember that. If funny. You think, like a 15-year-old girl, for instance, who's lost over a stone, who now weighs 8 stone something, which is my fucking arm weighs about 8 stone. Like holding up a certificate, being validated and praised for like losing this weight that really she shouldn't have been losing. That's just a way to fuck your relationship up with yourself and your body image, and like constantly feel like your worth is just in your weight. Like you're only valuable if you weigh a certain number. I think let's start going into the relationships that it's like, you know, like your relationship with certain foods and stuff like that. Because I think that I hear a lot of people talk about this.
Yeah. God, I don't know where to start.
So what are your like main foods that you even today like still struggle to eat, and why do you believe that is?
Well, I've got 2 specific foods. One of them specifically is like pies and pastries. I love a pie. Who doesn't love a fat?
But that is a sin if you eat one of them.
Exactly. And I always remember how, I mean, I can't remember the specific sin value, but I always remember how much it was pushed that pies are, you know, high sins or whatever. So then when I say pies, I don't just mean like, you know, chunky pies. I mean like, you know, I don't like Cornish pasties, so probably not them, but you know, like a steak slice, a Greg's steak bake, you know, whatever. Like it's all of those type of things. And yeah, they used to say about you know, how many sins are a pie or a pasty and whatever. And they used to push this like alternative. There's so many alternatives that were just not what you wanted. And they always used to push.
Sorry, but my favourite one is the donut.
That's my favourite one as well. It's my mum's favourite one as well, and she.
I fucking love a donut, and I haven't had a donut for years because I'm gluten free. And when you told me this variation of a donut, like even I wouldn't eat that, and I haven't had a donut for years, and I love donuts.
She said everyone like the variation of the donut, the Slim World donut, Slim World friendly donut. Is so basically you get a roll. It has to be a bread roll. Sorry, everyone, a bread roll.
A bread roll
that is considered one of the hex bees.
What does that language even mean?
I don't know what it even stands for.
No.
But just quickly, like the hex bees, so basically you're allowed 1 hex bee a day and 1 hex A a day. And hex bees were basically bread. You couldn't have any old bread. You weren't allowed any old bread as your hex bees. They came under certain categories. But if you had bread, you couldn't have cereal. You couldn't have Weetabix.
I bet it was the like low carb 70 calories a slice.
It was that horrible nimble stuff.
Oh.
The freezer. And I only had
Imagine eating that bread. Imagine eating that bread and crying. Just because you want some toast. Like, it's fucking terrible.
But that's how I felt this morning. I haven't got any bread. But
it's so bad.
Yeah, it's so, you know, you could have bread, but you couldn't have cereal, and you couldn't have any bread, and you couldn't have any cereal. You couldn't have Cocoa Pops. You couldn't have, you know, King's Meal. Is it King's Meal?
Yeah.
Bread? Yeah. Thick, white, yummy stuff. You couldn't even have seeded. Couldn't have seeded. So, yeah, you could only have one of those either a day, and then to be specific measurements. Same with the hex A's. You could have a certain amount of cheese, but you couldn't have milk for your tea. So take your pick. What do you want?
Put the cheese in your tea.
So that's what that is basically. You allow one of each a day. And anyway, so if you got a brown, specifically a brown bread roll that was part of the hex B, so this is the Slim World donut. You get a brown roll. You create a hole in it and you put jam in. But you have to sin the jam. You have to sin the jam. So be careful how much jam you put in because you got to sin.
You already feel like a sinner.
Yeah, it's already going to cost you. But they'll say, oh, you know, jam donut for 1 sin. It takes away your bread. Your jam's just sin. And then, so once you've filled it with the jam, you then roll it around in like the powdered canderel.
Canderel?
Is it canderel?
Yeah.
Sweetener.
Oh, dear.
The powdered stuff, obviously not the tablet. And
imagine going to that effort because you really fancy a donut, and imagine going to that effort and then biting into it and being deeply disappointed.
Well, the funny thing thing is a lot of people would actually really convince themselves that they enjoyed it. And
Yeah,
that's what's even
because they've been
funnier.
told that they should enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what's even funnier. That's what's even funnier about it. And you know, the most hilarious thing is that they don't teach you in some world is obviously about calories. And the funny thing is, a jam donut from your local bakery, your local Lidl,
Yeah.
is 190 calories.
It probably works out very similar. There's
Yeah.
probably about 30, 40 calories in it.
Yeah, exactly. Because what's a brown bread roll? Bread
Probably
roll.
100 calories.
Yeah, I reckon about 120.
The jam, 30, 40, 50 maybe, depends how much jam you put in.
Oh,
and the
jam,
candy,
no.
nothing.
Exactly. You're about 10 calories off of the jam.
Oh dear.
So yeah, that's like our favourite one, of course. But getting back to the pastries and pies, what they used to push a lot was, you know, the obviously I know we have these in the UK. I don't know. I'm sure they probably have them in other countries, but you know the sandwich thins, the little square thins. I don't mind them, to be fair. I don't mind them. Don't love them, but I don't mind them. They would say to get 2 of those and get the, I don't know if it's stewing steak or whatever in the tin. You know that stuff that's in the tin. In the
tin steak.
Yeah, well, it's like beef.
Sounds beautiful.
And
really appetizing.
It's like you know, with like the tin chicken curry and stuff in like Tesco's.
Oh,
it's like that. That's what I mean. And they would say to get that, spread that on your thin, put the lid on, like so the other thin on top, and then I think you can use an egg if you're feeling wild, but don't quote me on it. And then press down the edges to seal it like a pocket with a fork, and then wash it on the top of the egg wash, right in the oven. They're like, pastry, it's a pie.
How the fuck is that a pie?
It's not, because it's bread. Again, they'll say, well, use the hex B, and then you just send the steak, whatever, stewing, canned stuff. And then, oh, look, you've got a healthy steak bake.
So what have they taught you, or taught anyone, that helps people live a healthy lifestyle forever, sustainably?
I don't really know, to be honest. I know a lot of people actually, obviously, they tend to go backwards. Like I know a lot of people, they yo-yo. Obviously, it's a yo-yo diet. But the people that do maintain, all I can assume is they're living their life, the rest of their life, by the Slimming World values and routines.
Yeah.
The only valuable thing that Slimming World taught me, which isn't even a Slimming World thing, it's just something I didn't know about, is the fry light. They really push fry light, which is great because I actually love it. Like we use it every day. I'd rather use it than oil. That's the only thing I'll take from Slimming World that's like, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll take that.
If you look at like religious cults or cult kind of methodologies, a cult essentially uses your shame against you to keep you indoctrinated into their system, their methods, their values, to keep you locked in. And they have this like ideal of what you should be striving for. And if you see it as, you getting that certificate, that was the ideal. You're getting praised because, she's perfect. She's just, lost all this weight. And then if you listen to like the terminology and the words that I use around sins, like that's just a way to use your own shame against it. Because when it comes to, I can't because that's a sin. Imagine thinking that.
Yeah, everyone knows. You don't have to be religious to know that the weight around the word sin is heavy.
Yeah,
it's negative.
Yeah,
and it's as you say, it's a shame-inducing word.
Yeah, it's exactly why they use it, and they're, I suppose, call it what you want, but it's clever. It's not something that's particularly healthy, but it's clever how they use your own shame against you to keep you locked into their membership, or whatever it is.
It's very manipulative, and just I've got a couple of things actually. So basically, just running back to it. I can't eat pie. Well, I can eat pies, but I really now. I used to go 15, 16 years old. I'm now 22. I'm going to be 23 next month. Like, how many years is that? Like, God, 8 years. 8 years, and that's not water. And I struggle to eat a pie. Some days I would just think, screw you, Slimming World. Excuse me.
Do you mind, mate?
And I'll just do it, and I won't go down. But sometimes I really struggle with just having a pie because I want a pie. And what's really insane is I'll struggle to have a pie that I know is about 500 and whatever calories, but I'll go out and smash a McDonald's.
Yeah.
I'll go to McDonald's, double cheeseburger, fries, wrap, whatever, or cheese melts. Or I'm sorry. Can you take that, sir, and keep that to yourself? Which I know is more calories than that one pie, but that whole message that I received and is ingrained in me, that is taking time to heal, is kind of a pie, because they're really simple and they're really high in sins.
If you logically see how that message works, and around like a pie, for instance, the reason why you can't eat a pie is because, or you can, but you struggle, is because they tell you that pies are bad, and they use the word sin. So when you want to eat a pie, you believe that you're bad and you're sinful, which is obviously shameful, which takes a lot of undo. Like, I know how much unlearning shame can, what we have to go through to unlearn shame. It doesn't matter what context it's in. It doesn't matter whether it's in regards to food or relationships or religion or whatever it is. Shame is like very, very powerful, and it takes a long time to unlearn.
Yeah.
And this kind of lends itself quite nicely to my kind of huge realization that I had a few years ago when I was like, just before you kind of entered my life, and I was in that rock bottom moment, living in my gym and been PTing for years. I took a lot out of it, loved it while I was in it, and while I was really kind of passionate about what I was doing. But when I reached that kind of rock bottom moment, I realized something very, very important, which I don't think a lot of people actually understand. And it's, so from my angle, being a personal trainer, I realized that personal training was a level above what people actually need. What people actually need is emotional intervention. Because if you look at it like, we use food, or I don't want to be too generic, but some people can use food to soothe some form of emotional pain. So if, being a personal trainer, I was helping people lose weight, I was only meeting them at the level of the symptom. The symptom was that they were overweight. The cause of it was some emotional pain underneath it. Now, this is why people, they go to weight loss clubs, Slimming World, or hire personal trainers, or, are on like diet after diet after diet. And, I see people that would message me 10 years ago when I was a personal trainer, telling me that they're struggling, losing weight, and they feel shit about themselves, and this and that. And they're still in that same situation now. And it proves that it's not a diet they need. It's not a personal trainer they need, or Slimming World, or some form of weight loss thing. That's not what they need. They need some kind of emotional support. And for a lot of people, once they start to get that emotional support and start to feel that relief and start to see themselves in a different light, can start to make better, healthier choices. It's almost like a side effect of starting to feel better in themselves and starting to feel worthy. Instead of, and this is what I saw, and this is what I was not willing to take part in anymore. People would come to me because they would say they wanted to lose some weight, and I would kind of delve into some of the reasons why they wanted to lose weight, but I wouldn't go deep enough with them. I wasn't experienced in coaching, for instance. And they would come to me. For instance, they'd have a holiday or their wedding day or whatever, and they believed that they needed to look a certain way in order for them to be able to go on holiday and enjoy their holiday, or get married and enjoy their wedding day. It's because their worth was around how they look. Now, you know, I wasn't willing to perpetuate that narrative that people needed to be a certain weight or needed to have a specific body in order to like be valuable and just a worthy human being, which is why I had to leave the industry, because, you know, personal trainers, yes, they mean well, and I'm not saying that what they do is wrong by any means. I'm just saying that they don't understand what's really going on underneath, and that's not to blame them at all. But if you meet people at the emotional level, you know, we've all got some form of emotional pain or emotional baggage, whatever word you want to use, which causes us to use things like food or drink or drugs or whatever to soothe that pain. And when you can get to the root of it, people won't tell themselves that I need to diet, I need to lose weight, because they will start making healthier choices anyway, and the side effect will be that they will be healthier and they will lose weight.
Do you know what you just said about personal trainers? Is I actually think I think personal trainers. I know food consumption and exercise go hand in hand, whatever. But to lose weight, actually, it's 80% what you put in your mouth, not exercise. 20% exercise. And I actually think, just listening to that, actually, I think personal trainers should be there to advise on the training.
Exercise technique.
Yeah, they should be hired or whatever for, weightlifting form. Yeah. You know, even cardio, whatever, to create exercise plans, whatever it is. I don't think they should be there to speak about food. And I know the thing is, I know some personal trainers have like obviously nutrition qualifications and blah blah blah. But even the fitness world and personal training world, like even they've got their ridiculous I say probably a lot of ridiculous things. You think, all right, you know, maybe not on the actually probably to the same level as ridiculousness as some of the stuff in Slimming World or Weight Watchers, but it's just articulated differently, and with qualification or whatever. But I think personal training should be training. Train people. I
agree.
You teach people how to exercise and
actually, like what I said to you, and I still hold on to this. Like, I fucking love putting someone through like a tough workout that really wants to be there, isn't there because they believe that they're unworthy and need to lose weight, but just wants to have a hard training session and, you know, lift weights. And I love that. I love that side of personal training. I don't like all the other side of it around, you know, weight loss and, you know, getting people into calorie deficits. Yes, of course, you can't lose weight without being in a calorie deficit, but it's not meeting people where they're at. And what it actually does, the same as Slimming World, you know, when people aren't losing weight or like, you know, whatever, the message that they internalize, which is already a belief they have about themselves, is that they're unworthy and they're a failure. You know, they must be a failure because it's working for other people. So people internalize that as, I'm bad, I'm wrong, like I'm a failure. And that's not the case. You're trying to like use a solution to solve a problem that is the wrong solution. It's not that you're a failure at all. It's just that you're trying to use something to solve the symptom rather than the cause.
Well, it's just buying into something.
It is.
We all buy into stuff because we think that's going to fix whatever it is, but it's...
The thing is, towards the end of like when I started, when I was leaving personal training, I actually lost so much like passion around people losing weight. I got to the point where I couldn't care less whether people lost weight. I couldn't care whether my clients come to me and they lost 2 pounds that week, or it didn't bother me. Like, I was having conversations with them. Like, obviously I was learning coaching, and I was having conversations with them towards the end of my kind of personal training career about kind of emotions and behaviors and habits and why they were doing what they were doing. And that's what I loved. But people still focused so heavily on the actual weight aspect of it. And it's because we live in a society that tells us that our worth is in our body and our appearance and how we look, especially for women. And it's such a toxic message and a narrative that I was no longer willing to participate in. Now, I want people to feel worthy and, you know, feel good enough and valuable, no matter how they look and no matter how much they weigh. But unfortunately, because of how society is, people want to buy into that quick fix. Well, you know, it's easy for me to say, well, you know, if you actually started to like value yourself and start to recognize your worth as you are, you know, as the weight that you currently are, then weight loss would be a side effect. People don't buy into that message. People are like, yeah, whatever. Well, but if I just lose a stone, then, you know, I'll feel happier and I'll feel better with myself. And
there's so many people that, you know, they lose weight or the weight or whatever, and they get there and they don't feel any better. They don't feel any happier.
No. So then what they do
they strut around with their fake confidence.
Yeah, and you know, feel deeply insecure and unworthy.
I've got a question actually for you, just relating to actually exercise in Slimming World, because this is one of the, you know, one of the hilarious things about Slimming World is I actually do want to ask you how many, because I'm just curious to know how many people, clients came to you as a personal trainer, obviously wanting a personal trainer, wanting training sessions or whatever, and said they were doing Slimming World.
More than you would probably imagine. There was a fair
because few. Yeah, this is the thing with Slimming World is they have this thing called body magic.
Body what?
It's called body magic.
Body magic.
Yeah, and I don't know why I just keep laughing. So I just think so.
Body magic.
And basically, you used to like fill out if you did, you know, a bit of. This one's always stuck with me. So if you did a certain amount of hours cleaning your house that week, or you did the hoovering or whatever, you would get a certificate for body magic. However, doing that on Slimming World, they used to, if you then used to go to the gym, and you put on that week or whatever, they would do a quick turnaround and say, no, you mean you shouldn't like go to the gym. You should exercise. Because muscle weighs more than fat, and then you're not gonna lose weight.
Muscle weighs more than fat.
So you can get certificates for hoovering your house, which is just standard practice. Like that's just standard lifestyle shit.
It's like
you can't go to the gym.
It's not babying. It's like. Do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a nursery teacher. And like that gold star, like
it is.
Well done. You've done. Have a gold star.
It is, but you know, there are. It works for people in the sense that it is simple. It's simple-minded. But when you do get the odd people, and I know there's a lot of stuff on TikTok. Like a lot of people make videos on TikTok about Slimming World and all the ridiculous stuff that doesn't make sense. When you do look at it a bit closer, you do think, well, what the hell? And then a lot of the time, when you're asking a question, the consultant standing before you doesn't really have the answer. They don't really know what to say. You can have a banana as part of your free food, but if you want to mash that up and put it
in a smoothie,
you've got to send that. If you want an apple, fine. If you want to cook that apple, no chance. If you want to cook it with nothing added, no additives, no sugar, no. I don't think you put oil on an apple, but, you know, if you literally just want to cook it, nope, not allowed. Sins, you've got to sin that. Except, you know, if you blend some fruit, got to sin it. If you don't blend it, perfectly fine, have as much as you want. They couldn't answer when you eat fruit and you mash it up in your gob, in comparison to just mashing it up before you consume it in a blender. They couldn't answer. Well, no, they could, actually. They came up with some... I don't even remember specifically, but they came up with some completely wild thing that basically when you blend it or you cook fruit or whatever, it extracts like the sugars or whatever. But if you're mashing it up in your mouth anyway, and they couldn't answer that bit, they couldn't answer with logic. They just kept coming back with this really weird, ridiculous answer of, you know, extracts the sugars and blah blah blah. Well, it's all the same thing. You've not added anything to it. Your body's going to digest it the same. So
do you know,
why is that then sinful?
Jehovah's Witnesses do something very similar.
So weird.
You're not allowed to go to them with like a critical thinking question. No, they will shut that down. Sounds very, very similar.
Exactly. And another thing, just to kind of put across the obviously Slim World is it's a business. It's a money making thing. And it shows in some things. It shows because people would say, well, how can I have a Slimming World microwave meal? The Slimming World brand you get from Iceland. How can that be sin free? Yet the Aldi version or the Asda version is sins. Yet, when you compare calories, the supermarket owned brands actually have less calories. So how is the Slimming World one sin-free that's about $3.50, $4.50 a meal? And this one, the supermarket owned brand that's about $1.99 with less calories is sinful. But that's like...
Don't you dare question that.
Exactly. It's disgusting actually that you would even think about questioning it.
Terrible.
And it's the same with their little like cereal bar type things. They're called hi-fi bars, and to be fair, they're actually really nice. When Mum used to buy them, I mean they're really piddly. When Mum used to buy them, like we used to be like, oh come on, Mum, can I have one? And they're expensive. They're expensive. So like it'd be very rare that she would let us have one because they're diet food. And they were nice, but they're piddly little things. So those little hi-fi bars, you can have those as hex beach. We'll be able to, no toast, no cereal. If you have those bars, you can have two. We used to back in the day. But if you decide, I think they've kind of incorporated it a little bit with the Alpen light bars now. But if you used to say, can I just have this Alpen bar instead, and it be a hex B? No, sinful. But the Alpen light bars have less calories than the hi-fi bars that were expensive. They were like £3 box, and there was probably about 5 in there, and they were about that big.
They don't want you to know the fundamentals of weight loss. About you have to be in a calorie deficit. There's no way around it. You have to be in a calorie deficit because if you find that out and you recognise that, well, then you don't need Slimming World.
Well, exactly. And the thing is as well, it makes what you're saying absolute sense in the terms of calorie count and calorie deficit, because they would also say, don't save up all your sins. So you're allowed 15 sins a day if you're a woman, and if you're a man, you get 20 or something like that. And every one sin, so every 20 calories is a sin. That's nothing.
What, of any food? Of anything?
Well, of the stuff that's not free foods or steam foods or XBs or if you have bread and you want cereal, then you've got to sin your cereal if you've already had bread. Do you know what I mean? If you want cheese, then you better sin your milk.
Just imagine how bad you're going to feel. Like you've had a slice of toast and then you want a bowl of cereal. Just imagine the thoughts that are going to be going through your head as you're eating your cereal around being a sinner.
No, you're not allowed.
You're
allowed, but you're not allowed anything good for the rest of the day.
You're not going to enjoy that cereal, are you? Every thought is going to be telling you you're wrong and you shouldn't be doing this.
Well, and the thing is as well, is it's like the amount of cereal you get is like a piddly couple of spoons.
Probably one of them fucking child's like cereal boxes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like all 12 of them in one go in a big bowl.
But yeah, so what was I saying?
What do you think has really helped you move away from kind of Slimming World and feel better in yourself and enjoy your training and start to enjoy your food again? And
do you know what? Honestly, it probably was turning 18. One of my foods that I struggle with still, as we know, but is kebabs. Like, who's allowed doner kebab? Greasy, horrible processed sharks. I didn't love that.
Doner kebab and cheesy chips.
Yeah, love it. But it was actually moving away from Slimming World. Actually, was turning 18. It took for me to go out drinking with my friends. To
see how other people your age lived their life as well.
Yeah, and going out and drinking with my friends is what really enabled me to eat kebabs. Had one every single week because I went out every single week, and I loved it. And I wish now, I still struggle now. As you know, if we get takeaways, and I'm like, and then I end up saying that it was alright, but I didn't really want because I wanted a kebab, but I can't have a kebab. But because the thing is with kebabs is their offering of alternative that you'd obviously have to sin would be to get a chicken sheesh, the cubed. So,
Yeah.
and that is nice.
Yeah.
No chips, just salad. Can't eat the pita. I don't like the pita anyway, really, so don't make any odds to me. And it is nice. But if I want a kebab,
It's not quite a doner kebab with like garlic mayo,
sauce.
is it? And...
You know, I don't want that. If I want a chicken salad, I'd make a chicken salad at home. Do you know what I mean? I'd be spending like 13 quid on a chicken salad. Even though it is nice, but you know, that's not what I wanted. So yeah, I think it took being 18, going out, eating what I wanted, but I had to be drunk to do it. And yeah, I think that kind of lifestyle really took me away from some world in the respect of then started going to university. I mean, I was always going to the gym. I didn't really know what I was doing. Most people that just rock up at the gym, we don't know what we're doing. We think we look good. We look terrible. But yeah, I think it really just was becoming sort of an adult. But I do think there's hang-ups. And obviously, as we know, I still have hang-ups. I find hard. And one thing that I do now, actually, is because on Simwell, you have to like sing your butter and your sauces and my mum, she never used to do it. She was like, oh, I'm not doing that, that's stupid. So my mum likes Simwell.
It is stupid.
There was things on it that she was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, good.
But one thing I do now is that I know I do now, and one of the reasons I can't butter bread properly and make a hole in it every time, but that's, you know, not what we're talking about, is when I make sandwiches and things like that, I won't butter it. I just butter it with mayonnaise, like light mayonnaise. And that's the thing.
Or when you do like jam on toast, you just put jam on.
Yeah, I do. Just
so where's the butter?
And it tastes all, like this morning I actually did put butter and jam on. But that's
because, you treated yourself.
Yeah, but that's because I had that stupid, horrible
low calorie bread.
And I didn't buy that out of choice. I didn't buy that because I felt held to ransom by my old Simwell days. It was just reduced and I just put it in the freezer. And that's all I've got right now. But yeah, so you know, I do have hang-ups, and I'll probably, I hope that I won't always have them, but I might.
Yeah.
It's just hard. It's really hard. It was like a way of, Slim and Well, your food is such a big thing in anyone's life. Like what you're doing most, what keeps you alive, food. Obviously breathing and stuff, but because it was a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard to get away from. I find it really hard to get away from, and I'm sure probably a lot of other people potentially do find it hard to get away from. And I just think, especially as a young person going to some world, so you know, if anyone out there is a young person that's gone to some world, well, don't worry, we're in the same boat.
Well, you think
I feel like it's even harder.
Yeah, you think how if your coping mechanism is like self-soothing through food, you need food to survive. So trying to live with that kind of, I suppose you could call it an addiction to food, to be able to, you know, sit with that kind of emotional pain or push it to the side for a little while and live a healthy life is going to be very, very challenging. And this is why it's so important that you don't just go to Slimming World, or don't just hire a personal trainer or do some kind of weight loss fad type thing. And this is why we wanted to speak about this today, is because underneath, you know, the reason why you're overweight is a belief, and there could be a few, but predominantly that you're unworthy. And if you look at it in the sense of, you know, if you're coming out like a diet or some weight loss program, or, you know, hiring a PT or whatever, because you want to lose weight, because you believe that you're unworthy as the weight that you are, that belief that you have about yourself being unworthy will cause you to sabotage that weight loss, because you don't actually want to prove that you are worthy. Your ego wants you to prove that you are unworthy. So you'll sabotage that weight loss. Yeah, you might lose some, but you'll revert back to your old habits, because you haven't changed that fundamental belief that you have about yourself that you're unworthy. And no matter how many diets you do, no matter how many PTs you go through, you will continue going back to, you know, your old coping mechanisms and your old habits, which, you know, for a lot of people is food. So I don't want you to feel like a failure if you go to Slimming World and like lose weight and then put it back on. I don't want you to feel like a failure if you hire a PT and don't lose weight, because you're not a failure. You're just using the wrong solution to your problem. Your problem is the emotional pain that you're in and the belief that you hold about yourself being unworthy. And if you can work on that, weight loss will be like an added side effect to that work.
And I think I don't know if we're wrapping up, but I think in relation to that, I just want to say that if you if you are a parent and you have a child, or you are a younger person, and you want to lose some weight or things like that, or or even if you're a doctor, to be honest, I actually think we should be urging, yes, we want children to be healthy, we want them to be a healthy weight, we don't want them to literally keel over. There's better ways than Slimming World, and I think we should also be teaching, firstly, our children worth, as you were just saying. We should be teaching that first, as opposed to just throwing them into Slimming World and saying, "Oh, I don't need to eat too much, right?" That's like, from my personal perspective as a girl. Oh, I'm not a girl now, but like as a woman, speaking from myself as a child, as a girl, it doesn't matter what your doctor advises you. It doesn't matter what your Slimming World consultant says to you, because you're not listening anyway. You've got your ideals. You know what you're going to do. I know that was right for me. I know I did exactly that. I stopped. And I knew as a lighter person that it would be harder for me to lose weight. Do you know what I mean? So I stopped. Yeah. So what I did, because Slimming World, actually, they'll push it as a lifestyle, but it's not. It's actually disordered eating. Yeah. It's no better than an eating disorder. And because what I did, it didn't matter what anyone was saying to me. It didn't matter what I was going with my mum. It didn't matter that all eyes were on me, because when I was going to college, whatever, hanging out with my friends, getting my lunches, I wasn't having bread or cereal. I didn't really have many sandwiches. I love sandwiches. I love bread. Cereals here and there. I didn't drink tea back in the day, so I never had any milk. Didn't really eat cheese. So I didn't have the Hex B, didn't have the Hex A. Rarely had Sins. Rarely had a chocolate bar. Because, and I sometimes I think they're like chocolate bars as well. Picking up a chocolate, like a big, like not a little one you have in your fridge, but like an actual full-size sugar bar. You just go into a garage. Chocolate bar. Sometimes I think, oh, do I need that? That's like over 200 calories.
When you live in that kind of paradigm of like black and white, good and bad, right and wrong, you're always going to feel an element of shame, because life isn't like that. It's everything's in the middle. There's this huge grey area where like it depends, and that's how we need to live our lives, listening to ourselves, and not from a space of, well, I can't eat that because that's bad, or no, I can't do this because that's wrong, but like learning to trust ourselves and asking ourselves what actually feels right for me. Like, does it feel right to have this donut, for instance? Do I want to enjoy this donut, or do I want to go through the rigmarole of making a fucking breaded roll? And like, what feels right to you as an individual? And that takes work, but it's all about learning who you are and what your needs are. Not what society tells you should look like, or what you think you should be, or what your parents say you should do, or really listening to yourself. And again, as a personal trainer, I was telling people what to do. Yeah, I thought I was doing it in probably one of the better ways of doing it, but I was still telling people what to do and telling people how to live their lives, and that's not sustainable. Because how the fuck do I know what's right for someone long term? I don't. Only they know. And this is why Slimming World and PTs and weight loss clubs and all of this is never going to be sustainable, because it's not you listening to yourself and creating a lifestyle that actually fits you and feels right for you. Until you do that, you'll always be on a diet, off a diet, on a diet, off a diet, and you'll feel like a failure.
I think that even goes for like I think. Like we would advocate the most for calorie and calorie deficit. Obviously, it works, blah, 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 it's logic. But even that, I think
it works for us.
You can't. Well, to be honest, actually, truthfully, it doesn't work for me right now. How long has it not worked for me? Ages. I used to be really hot on it, but now I'm like, don't wanna. Yeah. And it's not because I can't actually. I just don't wanna. I just don't want to. Yeah. I just want eat what I want and whatever. And that's fine. I'm gonna do that because I wanna.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so basically, don't let your kids go to Slim World because they're going to deceive you anyway.
I think let's leave with like a message. So I think if I had to give you one message to take away from this, it would be, there's quite a few. If I can narrow it down to one, I would say
Have a donut.
have a donut.
Don't eat
Yeah.
a bread
If
roll.
I could eat a donut, I'd have a donut. I would say that get really clear on the reasons why you want to lose weight. Is it from a belief that if you lose weight, then you're more acceptable, you know, like you're more worthy, more lovable, more fanciable? You know, if you're coming at it from that perspective, I would probably get curious as to why you believe that and really sit with that. And that's all I want to leave you with. What's your message that you want to leave for them to take away?
God. Well, to be honest, I think the most important to me, because it's personal to me, is to basically support your children in feeling worth and knowing what worth is and understanding how they can feel worthy before throwing them into a fat loss scheme, a weight loss scheme.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, we want healthy children, you know, in terms of like, you know, like medically and things like that, but we want healthy kids, but don't just throw them into losing weight. Not that my mum threw me into losing weight, she didn't. That was me. But yeah, I just think that's most important. And for any doctors, to be honest, probably a doctor won't even watch this, but if you do, or a nurse practitioner, whatever, do not sign a child off in Slimming World.
Yeah.
Please, you know, give some suggestions to explore other avenues than Slimming World.
Counselling, therapy.
So
Not fucking Slimming World.
So yeah, but not to bash Slimming World. We don't want a lawsuit on our hands. We can't afford it. Yeah. And it's just funny because should we just show one little post up? This came through the door the other day. Slimming World, free membership when you buy a 12-week course. 3 months for you to lose weight and then put it all back on and come loop back around again.
Look at their marketing on that.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was showing him that one.
A picture. Oh yeah.
Of a big fat burger.
A picture of a burger.
But you know, it's probably, you know, brown.
It's going to be a healthy version that you're allowed to eat and doesn't make you a sinner, basically.
It's got a brown roll. No one wants a brown roll. You want a brioche roll. Sake.
Anyway, we're going to leave it there. Oh, the cat's back. He's going to walk all over the laptop. But yeah, thank you for joining us. And next week, we actually mentioned I'll put a post on my Instagram and on my Facebook. I think you're going to do the same, aren't you? Just to see what suggestions that you've got that you'd like us to speak about, because we love doing this just because we love doing it. You know, it's our way of connecting, and yeah, it's just fun. It's, you know, having conversations about things that we're passionate about. But yeah, if there's any suggestions, then please feel free to like comment, drop me a message, drop Charis a message. Because ultimately, we obviously want you to take something away from what we're doing as well. So
I think we're very differing perspectives in terms of gender, age, profession, experience, everything. So
yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. Enjoy your Sunday.